Good morning, good afternoon, good evening YouTube, it's your Slime King, the Gmail Man, and welcome to another video. There's another update to the rotation of the Abyss, and with that comes pros and cons to this newest challenge offered up by Mr. Hoyoverse. And this one is very nostalgic, as the 2.8 Abyss reminds me of the very first Abyss. Now it's not exactly the same as the enemies, the layout of floors, and the ley lines are wholly different. But the experience of playing this Abyss is very reminiscent of 1.0, and it'll sprinkle of 2.2 shenanigans. We'll go through each by floor as we revel in pure suffering. 12.1 first half is very similar to Chamber 1 and 2 of the Spiral Abyss 1.0. In those chambers, there's a plethora of Whopper flowers, Cryo slimes, and spawning ice cages. Now you might think, none of those exist in today's Abyss, but I'll tell you why they are so similar. 12.1 first half of the 2.8 Abyss has the Cryo Samachurls that if you do not target and kill immediately, will always periodically spawn ice pillars that serve the same purpose as an ice cage. And then the final wave spawns a Frost Lava Churl that creates many bombs with the addition of the shielded Cryo Mid-Churl that keeps charging at you like a mother frickin' monkey. This all adds up to what I call damage vomit, especially if you do not bring CC units or are just not aware of what you must kill first. Lastly, you have Cryo periodically being put on the enemy, increasing their resistances to damage immensely. All this adds up to frustration as there are a ton of damage sprawling all over the field, but of course can be overcome with the right units. Venti. 12.1 second half is essentially a Beto floor that is reminiscent of 2.0 Abyss, especially with the Kairagi no Bushi paired with the Electro Aura. There's not much to say about this floor, as it is very easy barring getting one shot by the Karagi and the pain of grouping them at times, but it is all, in all, an easy floor. 12.2 first half is the dreaded Cryo Cube. The last time there was a hypostasis in the Abyss was in 1.6, where the Anemo hypostasis BETH made its rounds and made people suffer. However, this time the Cryo Cube is much more manageable than that, as people love playing Diluc and Pyro is the best element in the game. Hell yeah. Bringing a Pyro unit completely solves most of the problems, not only in this floor, but also in all of first half. Are you getting the picture yet? 1.0 Abyss almost required Pyro, with a 75% Pyro damage leyline disorder, and all the Cryo enemies. The only real annoying attack of the Cryo Cube is its spinning wheel. The only real play there, as you just saw earlier, is that just do not give a fuck about it and just wait. That's the best advice. 12.2 second half is essentially 12.3 of the 2.2 Spiral Abyss. This floor is RNG City. It starts out with equally spaced Doritos and a Scout. Their distance is just enough so that you do not consolidate your AoE barring Beto's burst. And that is frustration, as now you have to be subject to Dorito RNG in order to group them semi-passively. The second half of this floor is where the real RNG strikes, and where it draws so much comparison to the 2.2 Spiral Abyss. The snakes can do either of three attacks. 1. Burrow underground and go to you. 2. Spit out a ball and freaking damage you. Or 3. Dig a laser on the ground and create an AU ring of damage around you. Obviously, you want the first choice. However, that is not up to you to decide. And if they don't come to you, that wastes valuable time and more of your frustration. The Ruin Grader as well can do his charging attack that adds another layer to this. So the best thing you can do after you beat the first wave is to run towards the Ruin Grader on the opposite side of the first spawn and rage. Rage that the snake pleads with your RNG. 12.3 first half is really where it hits the nostalgic suffering nerve. There is a Mirror Maiden with the Slowing Waters debuff that if you get hit with it, it prolongs your cooldown. There are Cryo Gunners that spray you with Cryo, and the Mirror Maiden will apply a lot of Hydro to you and all over the field. And this combination means that if you don't kill the Cryo Gunners fast enough, you will essentially be permafrozen into a blissful suffering. This floor has the exact same emotions as 12.3 of the 1.0 Abyss contained within it. In that floor, there is either a spawning ice cage or icicles falling from the sky. Either way, it represents the same feelings of frustrations of movement being hindered and the threat of being frozen. Of course, back then it was a lot harder as you have lesser options, but people who have played 1.0 Abyss should have an insignificantly easier time to clear this abyss than the first one. However, for newer players, this has the same taste as the first abyss. It might not be harder, but invokes the same feelings of frustration nonetheless. 12-3 second half is just pure annoyance and represents what the abyss has truly become in the recent patches. Putting bosses with short damage windows and equally short invulnerability windows breaks your rotations and make it just underwhelming to battle against, as it feels less dependent on your skill and more so on just the RNG attack patterns of the enemy you're facing. And the Ruined Serpent is the epitome of that design philosophy. Overall, this abyss was very nostalgic. I first played this abyss blind with a randomizer, so it hit me harder that this was very reminiscent of the 1.0 abyss. But once I actually used real teams, it was easy as always. But that hint of nostalgia took me back to a much simpler time, where I tried to just complete the abyss just for the accomplishment and not really the primos. Perhaps someday in this wide world of Tevat, that is somehow captured again, but I'm not expecting it to. Are there any expectations left for you in this abyss to get better, or new game modes in general, that reignite that same passion for you? Tell me down in the comments below, or better yet, come at me over at twitch.tv/thejimmyman, where I stream Genshin almost every day. Come join the Slime Kingdom Discord, where I feed you slime content every day. This is our parting. Farewell.